Hello everybody, my name is Brian Chin. I am the chair of the music department at Seattle Pacific University. I'm also a professional trumpet player and am the founding director of Common Tone Arts, a nonprofit to impact positive change through music and education, which is important because it informs the basis from which this whole project has taken place. You're listening to Steve Tressler's new record off of Center Song. This is the opening track. And I'm creating this video to introduce and describe the proposal for a 21st century curriculum for the BA in Music at Seattle Pacific University. I'm creating this video for faculty, for administration, for staff, for students, and anyone interested in our new curriculum proposal. This proposal has a history that goes back to 2015, and we have been working on this for the entire time in slow development and conversation and lots of opportunities to think deeply and imaginatively about what we can do to create a proposal for a new curriculum for the 21st century. I want to thank the colleagues that have really helped along the way informing this proposal. Cherie Hughes, Danny Helseth, Carlene Brown, Ramona Holmes, Ron Haight, Stephen Newby, Danis Vaishakonis, David Crochelle, and Steve Tressler. Thank you guys all for your help. For the sake of clarity and time, I'm going to go through this project-based curriculum here very quickly, but carefully, and I want to invite you afterwards for comments and for feedback. I'm going to use my one of my favorite quotes here, "Be quick, but don't hurry," by John Wooden as my kind of guiding force here. And I want to thank you for the time that you're taking to watch and to absorb this video. We will be having a series of info focus group sessions this fall, and I want to invite all in the community to participate in this process as we go forward. Academic curriculum is never done evolving. The full-time faculty and the task force understands this and understand that this is ongoing work and that we will continue to dial in this vision for years to come. We have had healthy discussion and we urge a diversity of thought on all of our committees, and we believe that this will lead to ultimately serving our students the best that we can. As a way to set the overview for this proposal, I want to start with our overall goals, our objectives, and our guiding principles, and then present the different parts of the plan in 4 parts. Parts 1 and 2 are the most detailed, and parts 3 and 4 deal with our music minor. This entire proposal is based on 2 big observations that I have. One, that careers in music are becoming increasingly portfolio and project-based careers. You could make an argument that it's always been this way, but I think it's only moving in this direction. Second, that the music industry is shifting rapidly, and that the skill set and toolbox has changed from which music departments, schools, and conservatories have taught for the past 100 years or so. As this changes, the music education programs are going to need to adapt to the trends in the music industry. Our current program offers a BA in music with a separate emphasis in music technology, music composition, music performance, and general music. We currently offer a BA in music education and a BA in music therapy with 3 different emphases. Our proposal is to consolidate all but the therapy track into a single bachelor's in music degree that can address the wide range of vocational skills and the realities of working as a musician in the 21st century. We propose to accomplish this by creating a student-driven and project-focused curriculum that reflects and engages with the professional music-making culture in Seattle and across the nation. We will also offer a vocation option for certification in the state of Washington for K through 12 music education. And we're going to encourage all our students to participate in that if they would like to. This proposal was all done under a set of guiding principles, and we are every decision has gone through this rubric from which we are operating. Our goal is to remain as FTE neutral as possible. FTE, for those of you who don't know, is faculty, how faculty load lines are established. We want to remain as credit neutral as possible, so that we are making essentially the same size degree. We want to integrate with the campus-wide curricular changes in writing and cultural engagement. We want to create a variety of options for students to gain the skills they desire, pursue their vocational endeavors, and to express their creativity and talent in a multitude of vehicles. We want to create a clear transfer roadmap. Our SPU is only increasing in the number of transfer students, and this is an important thing that needs to be addressed. And we want to embed our learning outcomes for 21st century musicianship. Our rationale is really in focusing on what we can do better in our department. Our goal here is to say that we acknowledge a general campus-wide trend, an increase of transfers and students with credits, and a decrease in the traditional four-year student. This is a reality. There's a campus-wide retention effort highlighting the sophomore year. Students are entering our program with increasingly wide variety of previous experience. The music industry has changed drastically and dramatically in the past decades, and the roadmap to working in our discipline in the future is uncertain, but it is diverse and varied and is always adapting. That our music education system and those of our peers across the country is really built off of a traditional model that goes all the way back to the Paris Conservatory in the 1880s. And this has been relatively unchanged since the formation of the American music schools, which was a little bit later in 1910. I do observe a national trend to massively retool curriculums to meet these new needs. Our current program is limited in a couple of ways. We believe that our current program messages to our students that a career in music in the 21st century is a tracked and linear kind of thing. We don't believe that that's necessarily true, although it certainly can be in certain cases. We feel like our current program tends to encourage academic and community silos. Obviously, this is also strong community on one side, but on the other side, that we see some unintended division in our department. We believe that our current system is kind of an unclear rationale for lines and load, and how faculty are assigned. Our current system is over complex, and those in administration will know that we are one of the most high maintenance departments on campus, and we hope to clarify a lot of that and make things a lot more simple. We have oftentimes a difficulty in staffing and filling classes with our kind of over complex system. We sometimes have trouble making everything fit in the time schedule. We have trouble filling the classes with the sizes that we need to run them. And this can be quite frustrating. We feel there's an unclear vocational thread. There's been attempts in the past to address some of these issues, but they've been not integrated into the overall curriculum. Our current system does not systematically encourage or prepare our students with the habits for the lifelong growth that they need to survive and to thrive. Obviously, we feel like we are doing a great job in many cases, and the faculty at SP is doing heroes work here. And most of our students are out there completely rocking, but we feel and observe that we don't believe that the program itself systematically encourages this. Our vision, or our plan here, is to focus on a project-based education and career model. This is a reflection of what it means to actually be a professional musician out in the field. There are many ways to do this, and there's no one way. And we are always essentially putting together our portfolios and our projects in such a way that becomes our overall career. Our goal is to create student-driven education, allow for a wide range of student choices that positions the student at the center of control. I think of this as bottom-up control. We want to create a robust core fundamentals component that acknowledges lifelong growth and talent development and the need for historic context. I see this as a top-down type control. This is where we can essentially frame it for the student to make sure that every student has the key touchstone fundamentals pieces and a well-rounded historical context from which to work. As much as possible, we want to simulate a real-world professional working environment. We hope our new program streamlines our IDM data and makes much more clear to administration what's going on in our department. We want to create clear learning outcomes for our professors and students, and very importantly, and to the parents as well, so they have clear ideas of what we're doing and what our real intentions are. We want to provide a wonderful balance of academic, applied, and vocational skills. Make possible better marketing of our programs around 21st century musicianship and education. To expand that a little bit, we currently don't really have a marketing plan around our music department in any kind of systemic way. We have individual programs that are highlighted out there, but I think if we can frame this around what it means to be a 21st century musician, we have a golden marketing opportunity for helping the university recruit and meet our recruiting goals. We believe this can help clarify our advising protocols and clarify expectations for student learning, community involvement. And ultimately, we're aiming to create a holistic music education experience. Brings us to our three primary learning objectives. Our first one, and perhaps the most important, is the musicianship core. And our core classes in music will acknowledge and message lifelong growth and talent development. To me, this is the most important part because there's no really such thing as taking 1/4 of music theory or oral skills and moving on from there as a true master. This is lifelong skills. These are lifelong skills, and you're never really done growing here. I like this idea that this content and skill set is timeless, unchanging, and culturally and genre universal. These three things, and we'll talk about them a little bit later as we get to the core section, are really the music fundamentals. That's the doing component. Music theory, that's kind of the understanding of how music works. And the music history, the ability to put it into cultural context. Contextual understanding. Here, I really love the idea of thinking about how art combines with our social consciousness and our ability to reflect on what we do as a way to speak on behalf of a larger group. There's a beautiful opportunity at Seattle Pacific to explore the intersection of our faith and our work, and the ability to explore what we're doing as individual artists and musicians, as well as in a community, and around our identity and the ability to place that within cultural context. Lastly, our goal here is to teach the 21st century essential skills. I see these as primarily performance first, with the idea that music is always, performance is the vehicle from which we operate. Music will never change from that. Composition, with the idea that we are all composers. We all have the ability to create in the same way that people have the ability to create stories. And music becomes our vehicle. And even though we may not be thinking ourselves as professional composers, we can all be composing. We are all improvisers. this is a key component of what it means to be a 21st century musician, and ultimately is nothing new if you think about this. Bach and Beethoven were supposedly legendary improvisers as well. Of course, there was no recording technology back then, so we only have their compositions. But I believe that these are integrated skills, and certainly the 20th century is mostly about music of an improvisatory background. Technology integration. There's no way around this at this point. Everybody is going to be using music technology in new ways, and we don't even know what those are going to be. The goal here is not to teach platform per se, but rather the ability to integrate what we are doing with our intentions and our music making around the tools that are available, and our ability to continue to grow in this way. And lastly, a sense of business savvy. There are many programs across the country who are retooling completely around art business, and I believe this is a mistake. I think that the important skill sets really still need to be rooted in performance, composition, and improvisation. And with the tool sets of technology, the business components is really just one piece of that puzzle. As a colleague of mine quipped once, turns out the best way to get known as an artist is to make really good art. But the business savvy is going to be a key component of the future for sure. Let's pause for a minute and give a listen to Cherie Hughes and her new record. So this brings us to part one of the new Bachelors of Arts in Music at Seattle Pacific University. This is the main part of the proposal, where we're going to be talking about a project-based curriculum. This is the component that I'm most excited about, and believe that it will change the education experience from the student's perspective pretty dramatically. Currently, we have emphases in different areas, and students come in and think about what they want to do along the way and kind of put themselves on a track towards that emphasis. What we're hoping to do here is flip the whole thing upside down. By making it project-based, a student comes in, and rather than being presented with a kind of rigorous wall of academic rigor right up from the front that feels kind of heavy and hard to get through in order to get to the stuff that they are really interested in terms of creating. This will encourage students to be thinking about the project that they want to do and the kind of portfolio they want to create. Hopefully it's more than one thing. And along the way, have the ability to think about the end goal from the very beginning. There, of course, are prerequisites attached to everything, and this will enable the student to be able to have control over what they would like to do in a very fluid kind of way. This project-based curriculum will have some components that look very similar to what we have now, and there will be some new stuff. So I'm going to encourage you to pause along the way to do whatever kind of studying and reading on these pages that you would like. But let me walk through our plan here, and we'll move kind of quickly through this. First, all of our students will choose courses from our new music core. I'm going to have a part 2 here, which will detail what our music core is, but it's very similar to what it is now in terms of credit load, and it's at exactly 47 credits. And that will be common for all music majors. Our music students will also meet the following graduation minimum requirements. These are pretty much what we have now, with a couple of little exceptions. There's a piano proficiency test. That's a national standard kind of thing. No credits associated with that. There's individual instruction. Our university has a 6-credit minimum, kind of designed for transfers and for flexibility. We, of course, want our students thinking about lifelong growth and continuing to study individually their whole time here. There is a large ensemble requirement. Traditionally at SPU, this means the band, the orchestra, the choirs, and these are also at 6-credit minimum, although we have a expectation that music majors are participating in the programs their entire time here at SPU. We're clarifying the next component here with a small ensemble requirement. Our hope here is that small ensembles will integrate improvisation in a group setting. And currently these ensembles, and some of them actually aren't small, but the designation is here at the moment, where these smaller ensembles can focus on improvisation and address what is essentially a missing chamber music component from our curriculum. This could be the jazz ensemble, this could be the gamelan ensemble, this could be other choirs, and we can figure out exactly what those are as we go. Lastly, and I think very importantly, is this vocational seminar requirement. Here, I'll explain a little bit more as we go, but we're looking at a 6-credit minimum for that as well. The main part here is that all music BA students will choose at least one junior level project and one senior level project from the following menus. I think the key here is that they will choose at least one. Many of our students are kind of already doing multiple things, and we would like to encourage them to do as much as they would like from these menus. Quickly, here's the junior project menu, and if you look at this quickly, it's kind of what we're already doing in terms of our ability to produce these projects. There's like a 30-minute performance similar to our current half recital. There's a composed performance. Here we're thinking about what is essentially a composition portfolio, but with the reality that a student will get that performed, and we're looking at about 30 minutes worth of music. A recording project of some kind. Students are already doing this kind of work, and there are other projects that we would be able to entertain for this junior project menu. To flash forward a little bit, we're also going to be using that junior project menu with our music minors. The big one here, though, is the senior project menu. And this is essentially the key to our entire proposal here. And you'll see what is essentially the performance aspect, the composition aspect, a recording project, a music scholarship option, integrating hopefully with our librarians, and to be able to essentially do what the honors program is doing and be able to take a significant chunk of either music history or a research project and to put together a quality piece. And music internships of some kind could potentially count as on our project menu here, and this would include things like student teaching for the students who are hoping to get the certificate in music education. The capstone for our major will change slightly, and here we're looking at putting students into cohorts based on their kind of project areas. Our goal here is to have about 3 faculty a year receive 3 credits of FTE throughout the year in a kind of diversity of content areas. In this project capstone. This will be a writing class. All projects will include a major paper that will articulate the student's process and inspiration, while also connecting that student's work to the larger, broader spiritual and social and artistic issues. This is a key component that I believe will set a student up for thinking about how important it is for them to be able to articulate what they do and why they do it. This is something I had to learn the hard way in writing grants over the years, and I think it's a key component of what it means to be a musician and educator. And students will produce some kind of vocational portfolio as part of that capstone. I'm thinking a minimal portfolio could include a website and relevant business and promotional materials, so they walk out of SPU with something to show. Vocational seminars. We, rather than do what is done in a lot of schools where they essentially have one, maybe two classes that touch on various components of music business, I believe this kind of inoculation approach doesn't necessarily work, because it messages that you're all done, now go sell something. Whereas I think it's healthier and more productive to think about this as an ongoing part of our career and skill set. Our goal is to run these seminars continually at Seattle Pacific, to require students to participate in 6 of them during their time at SPU. There are always going to be 1 credit meeting for about an hour a week, and our goal is to be able to rotate that through the wealth of knowledge and our own full-time and adjunct faculty, and to look across campus at other areas, whether it's the business school or the arts department or somewhere else, and to be able to expand across a little bit wider range of skills than I've ever seen done at a university. And potential topics could be things like welcome to the major, or maybe something called a life in music. I see that running every fall, and I think that would be a great entry point into both the major but also into the community of SPU music. Things like entrepreneurship, finance fundamentals, music business, website design, networking, freelancing, creating teaching studios, grant writing, other things like graduate school, nonprofit management, arts leadership stuff. There's kind of an infinite list of potential topics, and I think those could be a beautiful way to integrate the whole thing. Lastly, a music production practicum will be one of the prerequisites for our students who are looking to do recording projects. But this is really where all of our students can get hands-on training and experience in concert production, live audio, recorded audio, editing, archiving, all kinds of stuff. And our goal here is to frame that up with leadership. Ron Haight is going to be launching this program, and we hope that all of our students participate in this. And I think it's a beautiful way to connect all the dots. This brings us to part 2, which will focus on our new core curriculum. I believe that this is a key to making this whole thing work, and what will really distinguish us nationally as a forward-thinking 21st century school for musicians. First, let's pause for a second. This is Danny Helseth. The new core curriculum is really focusing on three main components here. This is focusing on music history, music theory, and the doing components, which is the music fundamentals of aural skills and just basic musicianship. I see the Music Common Core as, and I love this phrase, Common Core. We're all going to experience this. All the students are going to experience this. We're seeing this as a choose your own adventure kind of thing. And we're looking at keeping it the same number of credits as it is now in the Common Core. And we're looking at 47 credits. The difference here, and I guess let me go through it real quick, but the difference here really is that rather than having such a tracked system, our current core curriculum has a 2-year sequence that is progressive, in that if you are a student that falls off of one of those or enters late or comes in as a transfer, or has trouble with one content area, the course sequence does not have many good off-ramps or on-ramps, and this creates numerous problems. And I think that our current core curriculum doesn't particularly do a very good job of really engaging our students in what I think could be considered lifelong learning, or really engaging our students in actually taking ownership of their own education. So, as a way to briefly introduce this Common Core, I'm going to give you the kind of general overview, and then I'll go back and articulate why and kind of how these components are all going to fit together. If you take a look at this core part, this kind of introductory piece, this is certainly not 47 credits, but all students will essentially have what is 1 year of aural skills, 1 year of music theory, a one quarter class called Music History Timeline that I'll explain in a second. A couple of quarters of a class we're calling musicianship. This is really a class that's replacing second year aural skills. The goal here, of course, is untracking and lifelong growth. We'll keep conducting, which is exactly as it is being run now. And we'll introduce a class in improvisation, which is accepted and already done in most other artistic disciplines. Our goal here is to not tie it to genre and to practice the art of improvisation as a skill set unto itself. And lastly, basic music tech will open the door to our music lab for our students and will set students up for success in their other coursework. This Common Core, or this part of the Common Core, is worth 27 credits, which leaves the student 15 credits to play with. We are creating essentially two categories. One is entitled Creative Engagement. This is what is left over from the rest of the music theory stuff. The goal here is to apply it, though, and to really focus on composition and on imagination, and applying these techniques in ways that the student can not only learn the material, but integrate their brains and their creativity in applying this new knowledge and skill set. So this list of courses will be not run all at once, but rather sprinkled around, and students have the ability to choose at least 2 of these as kind of a requirement. They have, of course, 15 credits to play with. They would be able to take more of an emphasis on this if they want, and they could go as deep as they want, as they can take whatever class offerings interest them as they go, and they're of course encouraged to do so. You'll notice that these courses would simultaneously set up a student for graduate school if they wanted to go that direction. But if a student didn't want to do as much of the traditional conservatory methods type of experience, they have the flexibility to look at, say, songwriting and jazz theory as an emphasis. This brings us to the other menu. This is one we're calling critical listening and cultural reflection. This is what is left of, I suppose, the music history components. And here we're wanting to flip it upside down, though, a little bit, make it a little bit less of, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and make it a little bit more about the music itself and about the culture it reflects. We think that our students have currently a lack of practice in critical listening and lack of encouragement on our part in doing that, and we would like to address that directly. Here you'll see our courses we are proposing. You'll see our traditional kind of Renaissance to Baroque, classical to Romantic, 20th century, and we're certainly not wanting to lessen the importance of those courses, but we're also wanting to make sure that it's put into context of what else is going on out there. And we have proposed a jazz history class. Newbie already teaches a Music of Black America course. We'll create an American pop course for music majors. Dr. Holmes is teaching 2 world music courses, one about music of Asia through the class called the Pacific Rim, and one entitled The Spice Route. And I think the beautiful part here is that the student also has to choose 2, and they have a few extra credits to play with from which they can choose which direction they kind of want to spend a little bit more time emphasizing. At this point, I'm going to talk a little bit about our rationale for this significant change in our core program and give you a little bit more of an in-depth overview on what we're looking at doing here. If this is not something you're looking for in this video, feel free to skip ahead to the Music Minor Part 3 slides. There are also resources at the end if you want to skip the music minor components as well. Returning to this page here, our choosing your own adventure, I want to kind of give an overview of our rationale here. Again, our current program and most university programs struggle to serve students in myriad ways. The track system creates few on-off ramps for entry or exit, favors students with access to prior formal training. It attempts to make a one-size-fits-most curriculum that doesn't really work. It's ultimately an antiquated and pretty narrow in breadth and an approach to content pieces. And we feel it doesn't, it tends to not encourage this concept of lifelong growth. Our students kind of pick up this subtle messaging that, oh, I passed that class, therefore I don't need to do this ever again. And the reality is that's kind of limiting them to the idea of further growth. Our intention is to create the new core curriculum that creates bottom-up student control. They have some choice and some overview of what they would like to focus on. It increases student engagement and individual responsibility. Students ultimately get to choose what they want to focus. This is going to aid in curriculum navigation and flexibility. The current program, of course, is very rigid and does not treat our students who come in as transfers or students who do anything but the kind of straight ahead 2-year track. The new curriculum is going to be a little more user-friendly because of that tracking, and it's going to allow for a little bit more real life and students and give them a little bit of flexibility so that if they have to miss a quarter for whatever reason, they're not set back an entire year and therefore possibly leave the major or worse, leave SPU altogether. We hope that will be more attractive for transfer students who are graduating or wanting to graduate in a timely way, and we'll encourage them to do their music training here at Seattle Pacific. We think that this program can honestly address the SPU program, and will be able to teach beyond the Western European lineage, as well as kind of really focus on messaging the importance and the validity of traditions throughout the world. This music core acknowledges the liberal arts nature of our program, in that we're looking for ways to integrate into the rest of the university, and ways to get students really focusing on their critical thinking skills. We in music think of it as critical listening, as ways to be able to engage with our discipline. And this is the big one. It makes a reality that we can't teach all of the content in our discipline in 45 credits. In summary, we're proposing several radical changes to the traditional core music department curriculum. A core academic level music education contains 3 primary areas of equal importance: music history, music theory, and aural skills or musicianship. We are making substantive changes in all 3 of these areas. Music history. We acknowledge that a BA program, or any program, is unable to cover all content in our discipline. The traditional music program will focus on the Western classical music canon, and will be forced to minimize the impact of other areas, most often the 20th century, American popular music, and other traditions in Asia, Africa, and the Americas. We propose, rather, we believe that our greatest strength is our ability to help our students develop these critical thinking and listening skills. And we propose to deliver this in 2 ways. First, we'll create this 5-credit course, this music history timeline, that will in a single quarter aim to deliver a loose overview and build a scaffold for the future of learning. We joke that this class will cover Caveman to Kendrick Lamar, and will be placed within the context of the students' liberal arts understanding of global history and art development. We will then offer a menu of options from a category, critical listening, and cultural engagement, where the primary objective of the courses are to dig deep into a particular culture and its musical traditions. The emphasis of these courses will be on critical listening and thinking, and developing the ability to articulate connections in both written and oral communication. We believe this approach fosters a lifelong curiosity and a deep engagement within a student's discipline. Music theory is often compared to the mathematics of the anatomy physiology of the music program. Traditionally, these were actually weed-out courses, and too many professional musicians and academics will remember their theory classes with doom, dread, and fear. Music theory primarily deals with these content areas of notation, understanding harmony, analysis, and the ability to apply knowledge into practice. The fundamental problem in programs such as ours is that a true understanding of theoretics of music takes a decade of study and lots of application in order to build mastery. We nobly attempt to cram this into a 2-year program that models the traditional theory curriculums established at the Paris Conservatory. And we focus on diatonic harmony and 4-part Baroque voice leading in year 1, and teach chromatic harmony, format analysis, and 20th century theory in year 2. The biggest problem with the current program is that if a student falls off a course, enters late, transfers in, or comes to SPU not already able to read and write music, which anecdotally we're going to guess is over 50%, probably between 50 and 75% in all honesty, they will continue to struggle in our program and are likely to change majors or just leave SPU. We are boldly proposing the following. We want to condense the notation and harmonic content of year 1 of music theory down into a single year. So all of the notation and harmony, this is diatonic and chromatic harmony of music theory, down to 1 year. We'll do notation, chord construction, diatonic and chromatic harmony, and in order to condense this into a single year, we acknowledge that we'll have to sacrifice some of the contrapuntal study, some of the analysis, composition, and voice leading technique of traditional programs. Of course, this means that our students can choose from this creative engagement menu that will then focus on those components that we took out from the current second year music theory program. These courses under creative engagement will focus on the application of music theory, harmony, analysis, composition technique, and build the students' confidence and engagement in creating their own music. All students will be actively creating original content, and students who are interested in composition and or graduate school have the ability to gain their traditional skills and go as deep as they desire here. Our concepts of oral skills or musicianship, some schools call it ear training, is arguably the most important subject area for the practicing musician and one of the cornerstones of an academic music education. While music theory focuses on content and intellectual understanding, musicianship courses focus on the doing and on talent development. These courses teach the ability to sing from written symbol, to hear melody, and to notate on paper, and to develop rhythm skills using notation, recognition, ensemble, and groove. Needless to say, this is an area of our discipline that should encourage lifelong growth, as it is not possible to master music in a 2-year sequence. Similar to music theory, our current 6-quarter sequential training in basic musicianship is formidable. In many schools, this is the weed out course designed to discourage and intimidate those who are unprepared and toughen the musicians who are already coming in prepared, determined, and who have had access to formal and I'll say expensive music training. Rather, we would like to promote lifelong talent development and full engagement with the skills of basic musicianship and talent development. We propose to accomplish this with the following plan. We want to retool our first-year oral skills program that's integrated with the learning assistants. We have been using this learning assistant program and have it embedded into our oral skills sequence for about the last 6 years. This has been an effective and efficient tool for introducing content and encouraging talent development. We are proposing that we sync all of our content into of the 2-year sequence into the first-year program to model and balance the music theory sequence. We acknowledge that while content can be introduced in a year of study, mastery may be years away. Second, we propose to create this new class called musicianship. This recurring course would replace the second year of oral skills and will focus on fine-tuning understanding, developing lifelong habits in practice, engaging students with diverse musical styles, integrating singing with instruments, and message the necessity of developing complete musicianship for success in the 21st century. With a goal of positive talent development, we hope all of our students will want to participate in this class long after the required 2 quarters. With scalability in mind, we believe that an emphasis in participation, minimal assessment, and a message of intrinsic betterment, effective classes of musicianship could run continually in our program with up to 40 students enrolled. In addition to reimagining the core curriculum, 3 primaries of music history, theory, oral skills, we see 3 sub-areas that deem worthy of core academic music education in the 21st century. First is conducting. Conducting is the ability to communicate musical phrase and intentionality using only nonverbal language. While less prevalent in contemporary popular music, this skill is still our common language for communicating between musicians. All of our students in collegiate music education need some preliminary exposure to conducting and practice. Improvisation. Without a doubt, the music of the 20th century and today is heavily influenced by the art of improvisation. In fact, our entire music history has improvisation embedded. The other artistic disciplines, and I'm talking theater and dance and art, have fully embraced this concept. Yet improvisation in music is largely not taught in most of our programs outside of the narrow genre scope of the early 20th century jazz. This is long overdue, and we deem it an essential skill set for the 21st century musician. We aim to create a single touchstone course called Introduction to Improvisation that is non-genre specific, and designed to open the door and break through fears and inhibitions in this performance tradition. Lastly is basic music technology. This course has already been required for at least half of our music majors. We believe that the use of music technology is common to all contemporary musicians, and that we all need at least a basic primer in the fundamentals of music notation programs, recording techniques, and sound reproduction. Hopefully you're still with me, and let's pause here as we move to the next part, focusing on the music minor. This is Dan Kramlich and music from his grunge trio. Part 3 really focuses on our music minor. This is a natural progression out of the changes from our music major, and we wanted to beautifully integrate what we created for the majors and replicate the kind of best components of that for our music minors as well. Our current music minor is, we feel, not a very sexy degree in that we think a lot of students from across campus are going to be interested in this minor if we can make some kind of key changes to it. Of course, we want to keep the academic rigor that's kind of the hallmark of this minor, but we want to make this also more student focused and a little bit more engaging for the student, a little less passive. Here's our proposal for the music minor. A kind of general overview is that there's theory and history and kind of some of the basic stuff, but it's really focusing on what is the junior project menu from the music major. Real quickly, in terms of theory, we have the theory fundamentals and the oral skills fundamentals, as opposed to what is currently a full year of both of those. In music history, we would like them to take that music history timeline that the music majors will take, and then choose from an additional 3 to 5 credits from these options. We would like them to take basic music tech, to participate in some of our ensembles, take some music lessons, and that's one-on-one lessons. Participate in the vocational seminars, at least 3 of those during their time at Seattle Pacific. And mostly just pick a project and focus on that. Some of those projects have various prereqs, and those are all attached, and they are variable. But this is looking like a 28 credit major or minor, and depending on which project you choose, it could be an additional 2 to 6. Lastly, we are proposing a new version of our worship arts minor. And this is part 4 of this overall proposal. And this minor's was built and led by Steve and Michael Newby. And I think it's a great opportunity to hear a couple seconds of his work as well.
See my precious Jesus face to
The proposal here is to offer the minor in worship arts, make this available for all students across campus. But unlike what's currently available, we would like to offer this to our own music majors. We feel like that the minor in worship arts offers an additional theological study and a robust curriculum that does integrate faith into music. And it is our hope that the majority of our own students will want to participate in this program. As you'll see, it's very doable if you are already a music major by taking some additional theology courses and courses that integrate faith into music. This is the proposed curriculum that equals 30 credits. You'll see a mix of theology and music courses. There's one new course called Theology of Music that Dr. Newby would like to teach, and we believe that this is going to be a very, very popular minor. I want to thank you for getting to this last slide. I think that's no small feat. And I want to thank you for the time in watching this. If you have any questions, will you please reach out to me and contact me via email. There's a link to the paper version of the proposal here, and as this gets updated, you may need to email me for the most recent versions. There are other resources, worksheets involved that detail some of the more intricate things like prerequisites and faculty load lines and whatnot. And if that interests you, please feel free to contact me. I'm excited about this proposal. I think that this can serve our students and help put Seattle Pacific University music on the map.